everyone? My name is Jamon McKinney, or you can just call me Juice because that is my nickname. Welcome everyone to the Juice Alert. If you have not subscribed to the Juice Alert already, be sure to do that right about now. You will not regret it. You can, of course, find the Juice Alert on YouTube as well as podcasting platforms. That includes Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all that great stuff. If you're listening on podcasting platforms, if you are feeling kind, be sure to leave me a good rating and review. It definitely helps me out right here on the show. And also, if you're listening and watching on YouTube, be sure to smash that like button right about now. Like I said, those things definitely help me out right here on the show today. Jam-packed show for you, ladies and gentlemen. A ton of NFL topics. I'm mainly going to be recapping what took place during the 2021 NFL Draft. We'll talk about the Chicago Bears. They drafted Justin Fields, which surprised me. Can Justin Fields save the Chicago Bears? We'll talk about that. Is Zach Wilson going to work out with the New York Jets as their next franchise quarterback? We'll see. We'll also talk about Trevor Lawrence. I'll tell you the 5 biggest winners of the NFL Draft, and I'll give you my top 5 best picks from the first round of the 2021 NFL Draft, and so much more. Before I do get started, I just wanted to say you guys can also follow me on social media. The links to all of my social media accounts are in the description of this episode. Okay, so let's jump right into the show right here. I want to start the show off by talking about the Green Bay Packers starting quarterback Aaron Rodgers. At least he is the starting quarterback for now, we think, okay? Now, there's been a whole bunch of reports that have been coming out over the past couple of weeks. A lot of bombshells, a lot of crazy information. It seems like we're getting new information every single day. But reports indicate that Aaron Rodgers wants out of Green Bay. He no longer wants to be a Green Bay Packer. Adam Schefter of ESPN is the guy that broke the news. Now, if you actually have been following the sports media world, you know that Adam Schefter came out on the Dan Patrick Show about a week or two ago and said flat out that he just decided to drop the story without any real true sources. So I really don't know what to believe right here, considering that Adam Schefter pretty much dropped that whole Aaron Rodgers bombshell without any true sources and pretty much admitted it on the Dan Patrick Show. There's also been some rumors that Aaron Rodgers is considering potentially retiring. There are reports that he's not happy with the general manager. He also listed off a couple, well, he didn't actually list it off, but there's been some rumbles that the 49ers, the Raiders, and the Broncos are teams that he might look to go to one day if there's a trade to be made. And obviously, if you don't know, a big reason why all this is happening is because the Green Bay Packers drafted Jordan Love in the 2020 NFL Draft, the same year that Aaron Rodgers took the Green Bay Packers to an NFC Championship game and had a great season. You would think that Green Bay would try to go all in to win a Super Bowl, but no, they said, we're going to invest in Jordan Love because we don't believe Aaron Rodgers is good enough to be our quarterback for the future. They pretty much were saying, hey, we're going to choose the future over the present. And it came back to bite the Green Bay Packers in the playoffs versus Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. Now, ultimately, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is threatened by Jordan Love just because he knows he's much better than Jordan Love. Jordan Love still has a lot of developing to do. And Aaron Rodgers is arguably one of, if not the best quarterback in all of football right now as we speak today. But Jordan Love was drafted by the Green Bay Packers to potentially replace Aaron Rodgers, so he's a big part of this equation. There also are some reports out there that Green Bay has offered Aaron Rodgers a long-term deal. Green Bay has came out and said they want Aaron Rodgers back for this year. So look, here's the things I believe, okay? Because there's a whole lot of stuff coming out. I don't believe Aaron Rodgers is retiring. The biggest reason why I say that is because it wasn't too long ago that Aaron Rodgers said that he wants to play well into his 40s. He loves football. He wants to keep playing. So I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to just all of a sudden retire, especially after he just won his 3rd NFL MVP award. He won the 2020 MVP award, okay? Here's another thing I believe. I believe Aaron Rodgers is going to play at least one more season with the Green Bay Packers. I said when Jordan Love was drafted that Aaron Rodgers had about 2 years left in Green Bay. So he's gotten past year 1 of Jordan Love on the roster. Well, I believe that because Green Bay knows Jordan Love isn't quite ready to play, that he still needs some development, that they're going to try to bring Aaron Rodgers back for another year. In fact, they've even came out and said that, hey, we're not trading Aaron Rodgers. We want him back for the 2021 season because they know Jordan Love's not ready to play. So those are the things I believe. But if these things are true, if Aaron Rodgers truly does want out of Green Bay, let me just say this. I don't blame Aaron Rodgers for wanting out of Green Bay. I'm actually on Aaron Rodgers' side, and I'll tell you why. The biggest reason why is because, see, this goes beyond football, people. The way Aaron Rodgers has been treated as a franchise quarterback in Green Bay, Wisconsin, I think he's quite frankly just fed up and tired of it, okay? And not to mention, they haven't won a Super Bowl in over a decade, and Green Bay has not made the necessary moves to do so in order to get over the hump. I'd be frustrated too. I just have a great season. I take the Packers to an NFC Championship game, and you draft my replacement instead of getting me help on defense or another wide receiver. See, here's a long list of the things that have gone on in Green Bay, Wisconsin that have sort of led to this point, in my opinion. Several years ago, Aaron Rodgers wanted to keep his best friend and former star wide receiver Jordy Nelson on the Green Bay Packers roster. Green Bay did not retain him. Aaron Rodgers expressed that he loved his quarterback coach a couple of years ago. Green Bay lets him go. Green Bay hired Brian Gutekunst to be their new general manager, a guy that reportedly Aaron Rodgers was not comfortable with them hiring. They hired him anyway. The Green Bay Packers, when they fired Mike McCarthy, they told Aaron Rodgers to not be the problem and deal with Matt LaFleur being their next head coach. They never consulted Aaron Rodgers on who's going to be their next head coach. And I understand some NFL teams, out there, don't do that as far as, bringing their star quarterbacks in the mix with these front office issues and things like that. But they just pretty much told Aaron Rodgers, hey, shut up and play. You don't be the problem. I mean, that's pretty disrespectful, I would say. And in 13 years of Aaron Rodgers being the starter in Green Bay, Wisconsin, they have not drafted a skill position player in the first round. The only offensive player that Green Bay has drafted in the first round in the past 13 years was Aaron Rodgers' replacement, Jordan Love, a quarterback. The Green Bay Packers, I've been saying it for years and years now, they don't spend money on free agents. They don't have an owner, so I think that a lot of this chaos is happening because the Green Bay Packers don't have a steady owner in the organization to say, hey, let's fix this. Let's let Aaron Rodgers, have a little bit of say in personnel. I don't think any of this chaos and any of this mess would be going on if the Green Bay Packers had a true owner. And not to mention, in the playoffs, Green Bay usually doesn't match up defensively with the Seattles of the world, with the San Franciscos of the world, with the Tampa Bays of the world, because in Aaron Rodgers' playoff losses, they've given up over 36 points per game. And Aaron Rodgers, he's second to Tom Brady all time in the playoffs in touchdown passes. It's not his fault they're losing these playoff games, okay? Aaron Rodgers, in reality, the reason why he wants out of Green Bay, if it's true, I'm not saying it's true because Aaron Rodgers hasn't came out and said anything, but if it's true, I don't blame the guy because, quite frankly, I've seen the writing on the wall, and I think Aaron Rodgers sees the writing on the wall to a certain degree. Even though Aaron Rodgers wants to stay in Green Bay, he knows deep down that Green Bay wants to move on from him, whether they want to admit it or not. They want Jordan Love to be their guy. If they would not have traded up for Jordan Love if they didn't believe in the guy or think that he could become something, the Green Bay Packers' ego has gotten in the way of this, okay? And Aaron Rodgers has seen Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Patrick Mahomes, Peyton Manning in the past be treated very well by their organization. Aaron Rodgers, the Packers are trying to kick him to the curb, man. And I think Aaron Rodgers, deep down, would love nothing more to leave the Green Bay Packers and win another Super Bowl, have success, maybe win an MVP or two, and stick it to them. That's how I think Aaron Rodgers is thinking. And the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers, like I said, they've always been an odd fit to me. Aaron Rodgers is this rock star. Green Bay is this small town that doesn't have an owner, that doesn't take big swings, And the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers, they remind me of a relationship where 1 minute you hear that the couple's going to break up, then they make up and say everything's great. Then 2 weeks later, they're having the same problems. It keeps going on and on. This span, we don't know how long it's going to go on and on. The point I'm trying to make is Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers organization have been on and off with their connections and as far as regarding how happy Aaron Rodgers is, okay? And I think Aaron Rodgers really sees the writing on the wall. And to be quite honest with you, I want to see Aaron Rodgers leave the Packers and go to a team like the Denver Broncos. And I don't blame Aaron Rodgers for wanting out of Green Bay because of all the reasons that I mentioned. The writing's on the wall. So a lot of people have been discussing if Aaron Rodgers leaves the Green Bay Packers potentially, where will he go? And a team that's been popular to bring up is the Denver Broncos. And let me tell you something right now. Okay, look, I don't quite think Aaron Rodgers is going to finish his career with the Green Bay Packers. I think he's going to play the 2021 NFL season. I think Green Bay would be super dumb to move off a guy that just won the league MVP this year. Aaron Rodgers won his third MVP this past year. So they're going to give this thing one more year to ride out. Then they're probably going to go to the bullpen and bring in Jordan Love. That's what I believe they're going to do, okay? I said it when he was drafted. Aaron Rodgers has 2 more years in Green Bay, and then if he doesn't win a Super Bowl, he's out the door. You know, that's what Green Bay has decided to do, at least in my opinion. Will Aaron Rodgers stay in Green Bay for the rest of his career? I mean, it's possible, but I say it's highly unlikely based on what we've been hearing and based on the actions of the Packers organization. But here's the thing. If Aaron Rodgers were to leave the Green Bay Packers and go to the Denver Broncos, I would be so excited to see what Aaron Rodgers could do in the Mile High City, aka Denver, Colorado. And I think Aaron Rodgers is the perfect fit for the Denver Broncos. It makes way too much sense. As a football fan, I'd love to see this, and I could more than certainly see Aaron Rodgers winning the Denver Broncos a Super Bowl. They will compete for Super Bowl championships with Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback as currently constructed. If you drop Aaron Rodgers into Denver, that can very well happen, okay? And why am I such a big believer as to why Denver can be a Super Bowl contender with Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback? First of all, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, he's amazing. I mean, outside of Patrick Mahomes, I don't know who's better than Aaron Rodgers right now. You can make the argument right now that even Aaron Rodgers is better than Patrick Mahomes. He had a better season than Patrick Mahomes this past year despite being on a worse team, you know. Aaron Rodgers right now, at worst, is a top 5 quarterback. He just won the league MVP. He's going to elevate your team regardless. And does Denver right now have a roster quite as good as Tampa Bay, quite as good as Cleveland, quite as good as Kansas City? No, but they still are really, really talented. If you drop Aaron Rodgers on that roster, that tips the scale in your favor. They can compete with those teams, no doubt about it. And what does Denver have? They have a lot of star wide receivers. Great weapons to throw to. Okay? Courtland Sutton, to me, is a top 10 wide receiver in all of football. Jerry Jeudy showed a lot of promise as a rookie. He's an excellent route runner. Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler, Noah Fant, their tight end, is one of the fastest tight ends in all of football. If you guys don't know who Noah Fant is, if you give Noah Fant Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback, you're going to know really quickly who Noah Fant is, because that guy, he's a dynamic player with the ball in his hands. Not to mention, you do have Melvin Gordon as your running back to run the football, along with Royce Freeman. To me, that's a solid running game. The Denver Broncos have a solid offensive line. I say it's an above-average unit when healthy. And defensively, what the Denver Broncos present to the table is really what gets me excited, because I've been saying for years and years now, the biggest reason why the Green Bay Packers have not been able to win a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers for a second time is mainly because of the defense. There's been a whole lot of factors, you know, bad luck, bad coaching at times, you know, just bad breaks. But when you look at Green Bay over the years, the last time they won a Super Bowl, they had an elite defense. And Aaron Rodgers has never had a top 5 defense since he's won the Super Bowl back in 2010-2011 season, okay? But Denver, this defense has a chance to be a special unit. They just drafted Patrick Surtain out of Alabama, a quarterback in the first round. You pair Patrick Surtain up with Kyle Fuller, Ronald Darby, Bryce Callahan, and Justin Simmons, That's a secondary that has a chance to be an elite unit, okay? I love the way the Denver Broncos are rebuilding their defense. Not to mention you still have Von Miller to come off the edge, and I believe Von Miller has about 2 to 3 good to great years left in him. He is getting up there in age, but he's still a really good pass rusher off the edge. Not to mention Bradley Chubb is one of the best young pass rushers in all of football. And you have Vic Fangio, a defensive-minded head coach. What does that mean? That means Vic Fangio is going to hold that defense down and just let Aaron Rodgers run the offense. That's how it always should have been in Green Bay. Green Bay should have been prioritizing the defense and allow Aaron Rodgers to do his thing on offense. Aaron Rodgers has never failed to score 20 points in a playoff game. Never failed to score 20 points in over 20 playoff games in his career. Actually, he's played in 20 playoff games, I believe. Yes. In 20 career playoff games, never failed to score 20 points. The offense has never been the problem in Green Bay. And I don't expect the offense to be a problem in Denver when you have these star wide receivers and this really good tight end named Noah Fant, and you have a defense that can get the ball back to Aaron Rodgers. Listen, if Aaron Rodgers goes to Denver, that is a team that should win a Super Bowl at some point. If they don't win a Super Bowl, it'd be incredibly disappointing. I'd be shocked if it doesn't happen, okay? Now, you are going to be in a division with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert, two really good quarterbacks. I believe Justin Herbert is already a top 10 quarterback, and Patrick Mahomes is arguably maybe the best quarterback in all of football as I speak today. But you're going to have to get through Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs anyway, probably regardless in the AFC. Why not go to their division and make things harder on them? Because let me tell you something right now. If Aaron Rodgers goes to that division, it gets a whole lot more interesting for Kansas City. No more cakewalks for Kansas City. They will have a real threat to them within that division. So, look, if I'm Aaron Rodgers and I can force my way to the Denver Broncos, I'm doing it in a heartbeat. The Denver Broncos have a more talented roster than the Green Bay Packers roster. The only problem is they don't have a quarterback. Drew Lock's not very good. At least he hasn't proven to be very good up to this point. Teddy Bridgewater's okay, but he's nothing special. The bottom line is the Denver Broncos have not been able to find a franchise quarterback that can consistently play good football and win them games since Peyton Manning. If John Elway can make this move happen, the guy that's in the front office for the Broncos, former Pro Bowl and Super Bowl winning champion quarterback, John Elway. I know he's not the general manager anymore, but that's beside the point. If the Broncos organization can acquire Aaron Rodgers, it'd be a home run, and I'd expect Aaron Rodgers to win a Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos. He'd be a perfect fit. And that move makes way, way too much sense, in my opinion. Okay, I now want to shift to the Chicago Bears. So the Chicago Bears shocked everyone on draft night during the 2021 NFL Draft. They traded up from the 20th overall pick to the 11th overall pick in the first round. They gave up their first round pick, a 5th round pick from this past year, and a 1st and 4th round pick in next year's draft to trade up and grab Justin Fields. Now, for those people out there that are saying the Chicago Bears gave up way too many draft picks, I disagree. If you can get a franchise quarterback in any given draft, it's a success, okay? So if Justin Fields becomes the long-term franchise quarterback for Chicago, no one's going to care how many draft picks they gave up. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs, they traded up for Patrick Mahomes in their draft a couple of years ago, and outside of Kareem Hunt in that draft, outside of Kareem Hunt and Patrick Mahomes, all those guys have been a bunch of busts, okay? You know, Ryan Pace actually has drafted very, very well. Same with John Elway. No one cares how many draft picks they've acquired. No one cares what picks they got and the roster they built. You want to know why? Because they haven't gotten the franchise quarterback right. So if you can get the franchise quarterback right, it does not matter, okay? Now, the big question everyone wants to know is this. Can Justin Fields turn around the Chicago Bears? Now, historically, Chicago is not known for having great franchise quarterbacks, okay? People have said that Chicago is where quarterbacks go to die, okay? Because Chicago, their best quarterbacks of all time are Jay Cutler and Sid Luckman. Jay Cutler was a guy that constantly underperformed in Chicago, never won a whole lot of big games, had questionable work ethic, and Sid Luckman, he might be the Chicago Bears' best quarterback of all time. And for his career, he completed 51% of his passes and had 137 touchdowns to 132 interceptions. Not very good. And look, Matt Nagy, the current Chicago Bears head coach, and Ryan Pace, the current Chicago Bears general manager, they're on the hot seat heading into this year. They have to win games, and it's a tough division. So we could be looking at a situation where Justin Fields might be rushed into action before he's actually ready to be an NFL franchise quarterback, even though I do think he should be the day one starter for the Chicago Bears, because I believe he is a day one starter. I believe he's NFL ready, and I don't think Andy Dalton's anything special. And let's say Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy get fired, well then Justin Fields in year number 2 is going to have to learn a whole new playbook, a whole new offense, and that's where things tend to go south. If a quarterback constantly has to learn a new offense, doesn't have stability at head coach or in the front office, things could really go south for that franchise quarterback. We've seen it time and time again. Where you land matters, okay? So there is potential for this not to work, okay? There are some things that give me some pause. But the more and more I've been thinking about things, the more confident I am in Justin Fields turning around the Chicago Bears. I believe the Chicago Bears hit a home run by drafting Justin Fields. And I believe Justin Fields is going to save the Chicago Bears franchise. I believe he's going to become a great franchise quarterback in Chicago. He will save the Chicago Bears, and I'll tell you why. First of all, Justin Fields is a generational talent. He's got all the physical tools needed to become an MVP level quarterback, a guy that can win you a Super Bowl. Look, Justin Fields makes really good decisions with the football. He has an unbelievably strong arm. Maybe not necessarily a cannon, but really, really strong arm, no doubt about it. Okay? And he's more than accurate enough as a passer to get the ball to where it needs to be, okay? Not to mention he ran the 40-yard dash in 4.4 seconds. So he has the mobility to make plays off schedule when things break down. And really, your playbook is more than wide open with Justin Fields as your quarterback. You can do so many creative things. You can run so many creative offensive plays with Justin Fields as your quarterback. He opens up the entire playbook. And look, I don't think Matt Nagy is a bad head coach. A lot of people think Matt Nagy is a bad head coach. I disagree. I think Matt Nagy has been having to overcome Mitchell Trubisky and bad quarterback play in Chicago, and that is what has been holding him back. Matt Nagy did the best he could with Mitchell Trubisky. He tried to squeeze every ounce of talent out of Mitchell Trubisky he could. And I actually think he did a decent job of it, okay? Look, Mitchell Trubisky, you could have made the argument when he was starting, he was among one of, if not the worst starting quarterback in all football. The guy was overdrafted. He's a bust. He's a backup quarterback now in Buffalo. He's not very good, okay? And that was who Matt Nagy had as his quarterback. But Matt Nagy won games with Mitchell Trubisky. He went 25-13 with Mitchell Trubisky. Got to the playoffs 2 out of the past 3 years. In a division with Aaron Rodgers. And you mean to tell me he can't win games with Justin Fields, who is way, way more talented than Mitchell Trubisky? I beg to differ. I believe Matt Nagy's got his guy. And look, Justin Fields is landing with a roster that is pretty solid. The Chicago Bears, they have a top 10 defense. Allen Robinson is a star wide receiver. Darnell Mooney, I almost pronounced the name Darrell Mooney. Darnell Mooney, he showed a lot of promise as a rookie wide receiver. David Montgomery and Tariq Cohen, that's a solid running back duo, okay? And not to mention, Aaron Rodgers might be leaving this division very soon. So the top dog, that is the Green Bay Packers, they very well could falter over the next couple of years if Aaron Rodgers leaves. So if I'm Justin Fields, I'm thinking to myself, I'm landing in a pretty solid situation. If I'm that guy, I should be able to win games with the Chicago Bears. I should be able to turn around this franchise. Now, of course, he's going to need some help. He's going to need Matt Nagy to improve as a head coach. Ryan Pace will need to continue to build around this guy. The Chicago Bears drafted a couple of offensive linemen, which they desperately need to do to protect Justin Fields. So look, I believe Justin Fields has the work ethic, the talent, and the mental makeup to turn around the Chicago Bears franchise. I'm a believer in Justin Fields and what he brings to the table. I believe He's going to have a very solid career in Chicago. I believe eventually they will be competing for Super Bowls if they build around him properly. If they continue to build this roster up, and things like that, I believe this is going to work. I think Chicago hit an absolute home run acquiring Justin Fields, and I believe Justin Fields is going to be able to save the Chicago Bears if given the right support around him. I believe in Justin Fields. So I want to now talk about the New York Jets' new franchise quarterback, that guy being Zach Wilson. So Zach Wilson was drafted with the number 2 overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. And what you need to know is the New York Jets moved on from Sam Darnold this past year. Sam Darnold was the number 3 overall pick back in the 2018 NFL Draft. He had a lot of hype surrounding him coming out of USC. I was not a huge Sam Darnold fan. In fact, I was actually a guy that endorsed the New York Jets moving on from him. I felt they should have drafted Justin Fields or Trey Lance to replace him. And look, I understand why Joe Douglas wanted to hit the reset button and start things over because Joe Douglas did not want to put his future in Sam Darnold's hands because you never know if Sam Darnold would have panned out with a new coaching staff and things like that. And by the way, this was a really good quarterback class. So he fell in love with Zach Wilson and he's going to take a shot on the guy. So I understand what Joe Douglas, the current New York Jets general manager, wanted to do. Now, here's the thing, people. I like to be a positive guy. And I like to tell you that all 5 of the first-round quarterbacks are going to succeed, win Super Bowls, and have great careers. Those quarterbacks drafted in the first round were Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones. I'm rooting for all 5 of those guys. But in reality, not all of them are going to become great quarterbacks. It is highly, and I mean highly unlikely, that all 5 of them are a home run. Because usually in a draft, you get about 2, maybe 3 quarterbacks that hit. It's just the harsh reality. There's only 32 spots for starting quarterbacks in the world today, okay? And there are constantly new quarterbacks coming in and out of college that are going to get better and better. And it's just one of those things where some coaching staffs are going to build around their quarterback better than others, and some guys are going to work out, some guys are not going to work out. That's just how it is, okay? And unfortunately, my gut tells me that the Zach Wilson experiment with the New York Jets is not going to work out. I don't see Zach Wilson living up to the hype. Now, could he become a good quarterback? Yes, he has the talent. He has some skills to become a good quarterback. But could he also become a bust or the Josh Rosen of this draft class? Yes, that is possible. And I would say, based on Zach Wilson's talent and based on where he landed, I believe Zach Wilson, out of all 5 of the first-round quarterbacks, he's the most likely to become a bust. He has the most to overcome. You want to know why? Because where you land matters. Trey Lance, you know where he landed? He landed on a Super Bowl caliber roster with the San Francisco 49ers, with Kyle Shanahan as his head coach. He's going to get star wide receivers, really good running backs, an elite defense to back him up. I think Trey Lance has a great chance to succeed because of the environment around him. Mac Jones, he lands with Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots, a well-run organization. They're going to put good players around him. He's going to get a good coaching staff. He's going to be able to sit behind Cam Newton for a year and learn if he needs to. Justin Fields, he inherited a playoff team from this past year. The Chicago Bears made the playoffs last year. They have some talent on that roster. Okay? And we could talk about Trevor Lawrence landing with the Jacksonville Jaguars, but I believe in Urban Meyer. I believe that roster is underrated. I believe in that wide receiver core. I like James Robinson. I like Travis Etienne. Jacksonville has some real players. Here's the situation Zach Wilson is going into. First of all, a brutal division. Brutal division. Brian Flores, Sean McDermott, and Bill Belichick are the coaches that he will face 6 times a year. And with the first-year head coach, that's not an offensive-minded guy in Robert Saleh, I'm not sure if it's going to work out, at least in year number 1. I could see Zach Wilson struggling out the gate, okay? Now, the Jets have improved their wide receiver core, their offensive line, they drafted a running back, but they were a bad team last year. They won 2 games, okay? Zach Wilson has the worst roster in his division by far. And he's going to be asked to play early, and he's going to face some really tough defensive-minded head coaches in that division year in and year out. Brian Flores, Sean McDermott, Bill Belichick, those are 3 of the best defensive-minded head coaches in all football. They give young quarterbacks fits, especially Bill Belichick. And if I'm Zach Wilson, that's not a situation I would want to walk into. Now, there's also some things I don't really particularly like about Zach Wilson's game. I think he's really bad under pressure and with bodies around him. He tries to ad-lib way too much, and he's had some injuries in college, okay? There is some durability concerns. And listen, people compare Zach Wilson to Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. He's not those guys. Not even close. Not even close to those guys. He has a good arm, but not a dynamic arm like those guys. He has good mobility, but not great mobility, you know? And look, at BYU, Zach Wilson was a front runner. He did not beat good teams at BYU, okay? He did not beat elite competition, okay? And when you look at Mac Jones, Justin Fields, and Trevor Lawrence, you know what all 3 of those quarterbacks had in common? They led their teams to a national championship game versus the best of the best. At Ohio State, at Alabama, at Clemson, you face tough opponents. I know you're going to say that, oh, those guys have star wide receivers and star running backs to hand the ball off to and throw to. I get that. But those guys have been tested against the best as well. They faced Alabama. They faced Clemson. They faced Ohio State. They faced a lot of good teams. And they performed well in those games. Okay? And even Trey Lance won a national championship in college at a smaller school. What has Zach Wilson done in big games to show you that he's going to be this franchise quarterback that's going to turn the New York Jets around? Okay? Where is his signature win? You can't find it, folks. Okay? Because here's the thing. Zach Wilson, in 5 games versus teams with 10 or more wins in his career at BYU, in those 5 games, he was 0-5, so he lost all 5 of those games, and he threw 1 touchdown pass to 7 interceptions. And how ironic is it that the year BYU plays a weak schedule this past year because of the pandemic, Zach Wilson has his best season yet, facing a bunch of cupcakes, okay? And look, I understand Zach Wilson put together an unbelievable year at BYU. But I don't know how much better Zach Wilson is going to get as a player. I just don't see the ceiling that everyone else sees, and I don't think that he is going to turn the New York Jets around. At least, I think that this is going to be a disappointment. I could see Zach Wilson easily becoming a bust and disappointing with the New York Jets because he's landing with an historically dysfunctional organization, an organization that can't get out its own way. He's going to be going to a very brutal division with a bad roster, and I don't know if he has the mental makeup to get through this. Again, does Zach Wilson have talent? Yes, he does. Can he become a great quarterback one day? Potentially, but the chances of that happening are very slim based on the circumstance and for all the reasons that I mentioned. So the San Francisco 49ers in the 2021 NFL Draft, they selected Trey Lance with the number 3 overall pick. And look, I endorse this selection for the 49ers. I'm a big fan of what Trey Lance brings to the table as a quarterback. Okay, here's the thing, people. In 2019, the San Francisco 49ers made it to the Super Bowl. They had a loaded roster, and I thought they were going to win that Super Bowl, actually. But they played, the game was played, and the reason why the 49ers lost that game was because they lost to a team that had the superior quarterback. Their quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, was not good enough to win that game and make plays down the stretch. And so what are the 49ers thinking to themselves? Well, we've got this great roster. We need to upgrade a quarterback. So they traded up and they selected their guy, Trey Lance, to be the piece that takes them to new heights. Okay, and I believe Trey Lance can get the 49ers over the top if they develop him properly. Now, the thing about Trey Lance that I like the most is he makes really good decisions with the football. He goes through his progressions very well. He made great reads at North Dakota State. He throws an unbelievable deep ball, has a very strong arm. He's an accurate passer, and he can go above and beyond the playbook. Your playbook is wide open with Trey Lance because of the things that he can do with his big-time arm, because of his mobility, both inside and outside the pocket. He can run around, make plays when things break down. I'm a believer in what Trey Lance brings to the table. He won a lot of games at North Dakota State, and he performed well week in and week out, okay? And what Trey Lance is inheriting is really going to help him as a player. Kyle Shanahan is one of the best head coaches in all football. He knows how to get the most out of a quarterback. The 49ers have a great coaching staff, a very good offensive line, a really good wide receiver and tight end core. George Kittle's amazing. They have a real run game and a great defense as well. Trey Lance is going to bring the San Francisco 49ers to new heights. I believe in what he brings to the table. Now, where things could go south is this. See, Trey Lance only started 17 games in college. I would have liked to have had him started a couple more games in college. So lack of experience definitely is there. And he was playing in a run-first system where he wasn't always asked to carry the team. When he was asked to carry the team, he did so. But what Trey Lance was asked to do at North Dakota State was not realistic to what is going to be asked of him in the NFL. Okay, the competition level rises, and, it's a whole different ballgame. And let's say Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt this year, and Trey Lance is rushed into action. If Trey Lance isn't ready to play, things could really go south. So, look, I believe in Trey Lance. I believe this is going to work. But if it doesn't work, it will be because of one of two things. Either the 49ers did not develop Trey Lance properly, or flat out, he's just not good enough. Because this should work. He's got everything at his disposal needed to become a really good quarterback. He has all the support in the world from a roster standpoint and a coaching staff standpoint. This is on Trey Lance. It's on Trey Lance to go out there and win big games and showcase his talent. So, I like the pick. I believe this is going to work, and we'll see what happens, but I'm a big fan of what the 49ers did in the draft by getting their guy for the future in Trey Lance, as they hope he is long term. So, I'm a huge fan of what the Miami Dolphins as an organization are building, okay? I believe in Brian Flores as a head coach. The first year Brian Flores got to Miami, he changed the culture. Last year, he came in and really helped elevate this team. Miami took a huge leap. They were a 10-win team, and they're really starting to build something, okay? In Miami, the past couple of years, they've invested in defense, in free agency, and in the draft. They've invested in their offensive line, and last year, they drafted Tua Tagovailoa to hopefully be their franchise quarterback of the future. And what have they done? They've actually done a good job of building around Tua Tagovailoa. They put great players around him. Now Tua has Will Fuller to throw to. They signed Will Fuller in free agency, who to me is a number one wide receiver that has legitimate playmaking ability. They just drafted Jalen Waddle with the 6th overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. He was arguably the most explosive player in the entire draft at the wide receiver position. He has a chance to be really, really good, okay? Not to mention they already had Devonta Parker, who I think is the number one wide receiver. So now you've got a wide receiver core of Will Fuller, Jalen Waddle, and Devonta Parker. That's a wide receiver core that gets me excited. Not to mention, you still have Mike Gesicki, a really good tight end who's very underrated. You drafted Hunter Long, a tight end out of Boston College. If you look at the Miami Dolphins, right now, you can call me crazy. In my opinion, they have all the pieces to win a Super Bowl. They really do. I truly believe this. They have a top 10 defense. And this year, they added to that defense by drafting Jalen Phillips out of Miami, who's out of the University of Miami, who's really, really good. They now have a well above average wide receiver and tight end core. The offensive line is improving. Myles Gaskin is an underrated running back. They have a great coaching staff and a new offensive coordinator that's going to cater the offense to Tua Tagovailoa's skill set. Okay, listen. The bottom line is this. There are no more excuses for Tua Tagovailoa. It is now time for Tua Tagovailoa to put the Miami Dolphins over the top. He has all the pieces around him to become the long-term franchise quarterback in Miami. And again, I've been very critical of Tua Tagovailoa. I'm not a huge believer in the guy, but I will say he's got a lot of talent around him. He has all the pieces needed for him to succeed. If Tua Tagovailoa cannot develop into a franchise quarterback, he flat out just isn't good enough. Because when I look at the Miami Dolphins roster, this roster can compete with Kansas City. This roster can compete with Cleveland. This roster can compete with Buffalo and Indianapolis, etc., etc. They have a chance to be an elite defense. They have playmakers on offense. They have a great coaching staff and a great head coach that I believe in named Brian Flores. It is now time for Tua Tagovailoa to take the training wheels off and get on that bike and ride up that hill and hopefully lead the Dolphins to a Super Bowl. Okay, because this roster is loaded with great players. You know, they have all the pieces needed to become something special. So, from this point going forward, all you Dolphins fans chirping at me saying, oh, Tua's this next great franchise quarterback. Tua's our guy. We can't go wrong with Tua. Okay, let's see him go out there and prove it. Because as far as I'm concerned, there are no more excuses for Tua Tagovailoa going forward. In year number 2, and from this point going forward, it is put up or shut up time for Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins. No doubt about it. Is Tua Tagovailoa the guy? Only time will tell, but there are no more excuses for him. So, I just talked about Tua Tagovailoa, and I talked about how the Miami Dolphins have a Super Bowl caliber roster as I speak today, and it is now on Tua Tagovailoa to deliver for the Miami Dolphins. Another young quarterback that is under a lot of pressure now is the New York Giants' current starting quarterback, Daniel Jones. The pressure is now on Daniel Jones to prove to the world why he is a legitimate franchise quarterback. Look, I was not a huge Daniel Jones fan. When he was drafted out of Duke, I felt he was not worth the 6th overall pick. Daniel Jones showed some good things at Duke, but when I was watching him at Duke during the pre-draft process, I never once looked at Daniel Jones and I never jumped out of my seat saying, yeah, I gotta have that quarterback. And in today's NFL, the quarterback position is very expensive, okay? In order to have a franchise quarterback, long-term, for a 10 to 15-year period, unless they're going to take a pay cut like Tom Brady and quarterbacks of that nature, you are going to have to pay that quarterback a crap ton of money. In today's NFL, quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes are getting paid $45 million per year. Dak Prescott is getting paid $40 million per year going forward with the Dallas Cowboys. Even quarterbacks like Jared Goff are getting paid $33.5 million per year. And why is that so important? It's so important because if you're going to invest so much, salary cap or money into a franchise quarterback, that quarterback is going to have to be able to go out there year in and year out, game in and game out, and be consistent and win you football games. I'm not sure if Daniel Jones is that guy. I'd be very, very hesitant to pay Daniel Jones a crap ton of money, okay? Now, I will give Daniel Jones the benefit of the doubt in this regard. The situation he walked into when he was drafted was not the most ideal. He inherited a rebuilding roster with a bad offensive line, not great wide receivers, not a great defense. I mean, the team when he was drafted in 2019, the team was not very good. And Pat Shurmur was the head coach. And while I do respect Pat Shurmur as an offensive coordinator, as a head coach, I don't like him, you know? And also, keep in mind, Daniel Jones was succeeding Eli Manning. And he still is succeeding Eli Manning. Those are some big-time shoes to fill. But today, the excuses are out the window for Daniel Jones heading into the 2021 NFL season and from this point going forward, because the offensive line, it's better than it was 2 years ago. Now the wide receiver core is really, really good. The New York Giants signed Kenny Galladay, a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. They drafted Kadarius Toney out of Florida, a playmaking wide receiver that's really, really good. I'm a big fan of him. They now have Darius Slayton, an underrated deep threat. Sterling Shepard, a really good slot receiver. Saquon Barkley comes back off of injury. Saquon Barkley, when healthy, he's the most talented running back in all of football. And not to mention, the New York Giants have a really, really talented defense now. And Joe Judge, to me, I think is a really good head coach. So the Giants now have a good defense, a good coaching staff, well above average wide receivers, a decent tight end core, arguably the best running back in all of football from a talent perspective when he's healthy, an improved offensive line. Where are the excuses for Daniel Jones now? Daniel Jones, it is time for him to go out there and win football games and prove to the world that he is a franchise quarterback. All the excuses about, it's his first year learning this new playbook. He no longer has help at wide receiver. Saquon Barkley is hurt. The defense stinks. Pat Shurmur sucks. All the excuses are out the window. It is now time for Daniel Jones to prove to the world he's a first round pick that was worthy of being drafted by the New York Giants. That he's worthy of that 6th overall pick. That he's a guy that you can pay $35 or $40 million per year to. Because if Daniel Jones goes out there and plays well, you're going to eventually pay him. And that's a long-term investment. So, in the end, look, I'm not the biggest Daniel Jones fan, but he's being put now in a good position to succeed. This is a situation where Daniel Jones should win games and should succeed. All he has to do really is just go out there and be a game manager. Just don't turn the football over. Hand the football off to Saquon Barkley. Hit your open wide receivers. Don't fumble. Don't make mistakes. And the Giants can legitimately make some noise in the NFC. The Giants, to me, have a really talented roster. But in order for that roster to reach its full potential, Daniel Jones will need to show that he's a long-term franchise quarterback. Only time will tell if that's the case. Okay, everyone, I'm going to take a short break. When I return, I will give you the 5 biggest winners of the 2021 NFL Draft, as well as the 5 best picks of the first round of the 2021 NFL Draft, and so many more great topics. Don't go anywhere, people. I will be right back. This is Jamon McKinney, and you are tuned into the Juice Alert. Okay, I am back. So, I now want to go over the 5 best picks in the first round of the 2021 NFL Draft, at least in my opinion. Now, this was a really, really hard segment for me to really, go over and make, because there was a lot of great picks in the first round of the 2021 NFL Draft. And I tried to evaluate these picks based on value. Justin Fields, to me, was worth a top 5 pick, and the Chicago Bears got him a number 11 overall in the first round. That, to me, is great value. That's what I mean by that. And, the obvious picks, the picks you should make, I didn't count those. Like the Jacksonville Jaguars, we pretty much knew they were going to draft Trevor Lawrence, and that's the pick they probably should be making. Okay, so I didn't put Trevor Lawrence on this list. I tried to make things a little interesting, and really, these are the 5 guys that I think are going to make a huge impact right away for their new team. So let's start. Let's start off with, forget that. I'm just gonna put the 5 best picks of the first round on your screen right here. Number 1, I got Justin Fields. Number 2, Devonta Smith. Number 3, Rashad Bateman. Number 4, Jalen Phillips. Number 5, Trey Lance. Okay, let's start with number 1. So Justin Fields gets drafted 11th overall to the Chicago Bears in the first round. And to me, Justin Fields is a generational talent. Chicago traded up to go get him. I thought it was a home run of a pick. Chicago has a great roster that is ready to win right now. They just need consistent quarterback play. I believe Justin Fields can provide them with that very good quarterback play. This is a franchise that has been desperate for a franchise quarterback for a long, long time. I believe they got their guy. Up next for me is Devonta Smith. Devonta Smith is a wide receiver out of the University of Alabama that just won the Heisman Trophy Award this past year, which is pretty much the MVP of college football. It goes to who has the best performance in all college football. He won that award. The Philadelphia Eagles picked Devonta Smith with the number 10 overall pick in the first round. And look, Philadelphia heading into this draft had one of the worst wide receiver cores in the entire NFL. I mean, it was a bad wide receiver core. And look, that group got significantly better by Philadelphia adding Devonta Smith to the mix. Devonta Smith is an excellent route runner. He just has a knack for getting open. He's really good with the ball in his hands. Like I said, he can run all the routes. He's really good with 50-50 balls, you know. He has very underrated speed. He has everything you look for in a great wide receiver. Now, I don't quite know how high his ceiling is. I just know I have a feeling this guy is going to make a ton of plays for Philadelphia. He will elevate that wide receiver core. It was not an accident that guy won the Heisman Trophy this past year. I believe Philadelphia got a great player in Devonta Smith, and I believe he's going to do some good things in Philadelphia, no doubt about it. Number 3 on my list is Rashad Bateman, the wide receiver out of Minnesota that was selected with a 27th overall pick in the first round of the 2021 NFL Draft. He's going to be a wide receiver that Lamar Jackson's going to be able to throw to in Baltimore. And his ability to make things happen with the ball in his hands, I'm talking about Rashad Bateman here. Rashad Bateman's ability to make things happen with the ball in his hands is really, really, special. He has great speed in the open field. He can break tackles, very shifty, and he runs very good routes as well. He also showed the ability to win 50-50 balls. And now the Baltimore Ravens have a wide receiver core of Rashad Bateman, Marquise Hollywood-Brown, Sammy Watkins, and you still have Mark Andrews at tight end. They are slowly but surely improving that wide receiver core for Lamar Jackson. I believe Rashad Bateman can be the number 1 wide receiver to really put the Ravens offense over the top. The Baltimore Ravens offense really hasn't had any trouble scoring points with Lamar Jackson as their quarterback. The problem is in the postseason, they haven't been able to put together their best performance because they don't have a truly dynamic passing game. It's all about just Lamar Jackson, making up for that and trying to make things happen with a bunch of tight ends, a bunch of running backs, and a bunch of guys at wide receiver. No disrespect to Hollywood-Brown and those guys, but they really haven't panned out. They need a true playmaker on the outside that they can line up and say, hey, this guy is going to consistently win, put up yards, score touchdowns, and make plays for us. I believe Rashad Bateman is that guy. Number 4 on my list for 5 best picks in the first round of the 2021 NFL Draft is Jalen Phillips. The Miami Dolphins took Jalen Phillips with the 18th overall pick in the first round. And Jalen Phillips is a guy that was sort of being undervalued during the pre-draft process. There was a lot of good quarterbacks, a lot of good wide receivers, a lot of good offensive linemen, a lot of good cornerbacks in this draft, but he by far and away was the best edge rusher, for my money at least, in this draft, okay? He's a really good player. He's physical, he has the size, he has the power, he has the speed, he has the bend off the edge for him to make plays. I trust Brian Flores and the Miami Dolphins coaching staff to use him in creative ways and to free him up to get favorable matchups on the defensive side of the football. He could be a game changer for the Miami Dolphins defense. I like the pick. And last but not least, I went with Trey Lance, because in reality, whoever gets the best franchise quarterback from this draft is going to be a huge winner. I mean, we could talk about, oh, this team got these amount of draft picks, this team got these amount of draft picks. The Arizona Cardinals might very well be the biggest winners of the 2019 NFL draft because they got Kyler Murray as their franchise quarterback, and he's arguably the best player from that draft, okay? So quarterbacks make the world go around. I believe Trey Lance is going to be a significant upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo. He's got a big, strong arm. He throws a great deep ball. He's an accurate decision maker. He can make plays off schedule when things break down. He can use his mobility. I mean, as far as mobility, arm strength, size, leadership, great intangibles, he has it all. And he could become Kyle Shanahan's version of Patrick Mahomes, where Patrick Mahomes came into Kansas City, he took over for Alex Smith, and while Alex Smith won them games and got them to the playoffs, Patrick Mahomes is the main guy that put the Kansas City Chiefs over the top and allowed them to win a Super Bowl. I believe Trey Lance could be that guy. Not saying he's going to be Patrick Mahomes, but he has a chance to be really good in the Kyle Shanahan system. So those are the 5 best picks of the first round of the 2021 NFL Draft, in my opinion. Number 1, Justin Fields. Number 2, Devonta Smith. Number 3, Rashad Bateman. Number 4, Jalen Phillips. Number 5, Trey Lance. Okay, so I just talked about the 5 best picks of the first round of the 2021 NFL Draft. Now I'm going to give you the 5 teams, to me at least, that should feel really good about their draft today. The 5 biggest winners of the 2021 NFL Draft. Now, before I get started, I just wanted to say whichever team probably gets their franchise quarterback is going to be the biggest winner of the draft. I mean, no one cares who else the Green Bay Packers drafted in the 2005 NFL Draft. All they care about is Aaron Rodgers. All those other guys are cast-offs, but because Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Famer and arguably the most talented quarterback of all time, Green Bay is the biggest winner of that draft. Same thing with the Kansas City Chiefs. Outside of Kareem Hunt in the Patrick Mahomes draft, they drafted nothing but bust outside of Patrick Mahomes and Kareem Hunt. So I will say this. The way I'm basing my list off of is based off this criteria. Which team should feel really good today based on the information we know? In reality, we don't quite know what these players are going to be, but based on what we've seen in college and based on the value of these teams, which teams, I should say, should feel really good about their draft today? In no particular order, these are the 5 biggest winners. I didn't put these teams in order because it's way too hard for me. I'm just going to give you the 5 biggest winners in my opinion in no particular order. I believe the Jets, the Browns, the Ravens, the Jaguars, and the Chicago Bears should feel really good about their drafts. Let's start off with the New York Jets. I believe they nailed at least 3 of their first 4 picks. Elijah Vera Tucker out of USC is a really solid player. They traded to get him. They desperately needed offensive line help. He helps there. Elijah Moore is a really good wide receiver that they took in the second round. He has the ability to make plays for that wide receiver core and really help out Zach Wilson. Not to mention Michael Carter, the running back out of North Carolina, is a real player. And listen, if Zach Wilson can play, and look, I have my doubts about Zach Wilson, but if he's the long-term franchise quarterback for the Jets, and you pair him up with all these players that they drafted, we can look back on this New York Jets draft and say, man, it was an absolute home run. Okay, look, the Jets, they needed offensive line help. They needed another wide receiver. They needed a running back, and they needed a franchise quarterback. They took on those, they realized those needs, and they took on those needs head on. They addressed them, and I think they got some really good players, regardless if Zach Wilson is a hit or not. I have my doubts, but regardless of Zach Wilson, they got really good players. The Chicago Bears, to me, are a big-time winner as well. I said the Chicago Bears, heading into the draft, was the one team that desperately needed to trade up for a franchise quarterback. I said they were the one team that needed to trade up for a quarterback. They did that. They traded up for Justin Fields, who to me is a generational talent. That is a home run of a pick. I believe that Justin Fields has a chance to really be the savior of the Chicago Bears. He has a chance to take them to heights that they've never reached, okay? And You also drafted Telvin Jenkins, who to me was worthy of a first-round pick, but you snagged him in the second round. I like that pick. The Bears also drafted another offensive lineman later in the draft. They were able to pick up Daz Newsome, a sixth-round pick out of North Carolina at wide receiver. I think Daz Newsome could be a big-time compliment to Darnell Mooney and Allen Robinson. So now you've given Justin Fields a really good weapon and an improved offensive line. Chicago should feel really good about their draft. Baltimore, for me, should be a winner. The Baltimore Ravens clearly needed to improve their wide receiver core. We've seen over the past 3 years, the wide receiver core let Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens down in the playoffs. Well, they drafted Rashawn Bateman out of Minnesota in the first round. He's a playmaker. I like him a lot. They drafted Taylor Wallace out of Oklahoma State, who was getting some first-round buzz a year ago before getting hurt. He fell all the way to the fourth round. That could end up being a steal. They also drafted Jason Away out of Penn State. Now, I have my questions about him, but I do trust the Baltimore Ravens coaching staff to coach him up and try to get the most out of him. And I think that he has a lot of potential, even though he didn't really produce a whole lot in his final season at Penn State. But they needed an edge rusher to replace Matthew Judon, and they got that, hopefully, in Jason Away. They drafted Ben Cleveland. They needed offensive line help. I believe Ben Cleveland can be offensive lineman that really helps them. They also got Shaun Wade in the fifth round, a playmaking cornerback that really fills a need for them. I like what Baltimore did. The Cleveland Browns continue to add to an already stacked roster. If you want to follow a blueprint on how to build a real football team, follow the Cleveland Browns blueprint. They're doing an excellent job in Cleveland. They've really turned around that franchise, the new front office, and the new regime. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Okay, I was shocked he didn't go in the first round. But Cleveland got him in the second round, and he's a playmaking middle linebacker that will make plays for that defense. They needed a middle linebacker, so they got that. They also drafted Greg Newsome II out of Northwestern, a playmaking corner that's very versatile. You know, he's going to help that secondary out a lot. They drafted Anthony Schwartz out of Auburn, one of the fastest players in this draft, a playmaking wide receiver to already a stacked wide receiver core. Tommy Togiai was one of the most dominant players in all college football this past season on the defensive side of the football. They snagged him in the fourth round. He's a really good D tackle. I like that pick a lot. And last but not least, I want to talk about the Jaguars. You know, obviously Trevor Lawrence is the big highlight right here. But I love the Travis Etienne pickup because if you pair Travis Etienne with James Robinson, that has a chance to be a dynamic, elite running back duo. I'm a huge fan of what Travis Etienne brings to the table. They also drafted Tyson Campbell, you know, a guy that's a really good quarterback that can really help that secondary out. Walker Little, to me, is very underrated as an offensive lineman. They also drafted Luke Farrell, who really wasn't asked to do a whole lot at Ohio State, but I believe if he's called upon, he can do some good things in Jacksonville, even though Tim Tebow might be taking a spot. But either way, I like Luke Farrell. I think Jacksonville had a very good draft. So those are the 5 biggest winners of the draft based on what I know today. The New York Jets, the Cleveland Browns, the Baltimore Ravens, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and last but not least, the Chicago Bears. The 5 biggest winners of the 2021 NFL Draft. Okay, so we just talked about the Jaguars. I want to dive into Trevor Lawrence. So Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback out of Clemson, was selected with the number 1 overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. And look, there's no exact science to the draft, you know, especially when evaluating the quarterback position. Sometimes you just flat out get lucky. The New England Patriots, they got lucky by getting Tom Brady. No one thought Tom Brady was going to develop into becoming the greatest quarterback of all time when Tom Brady was at Michigan. No one thought that. Same thing with Dak Prescott. No one thought Dak Prescott was going to be this good back when he was at Mississippi State. Russell Wilson, out of Wisconsin. Could we imagine Russell Wilson winning a Super Bowl and being one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the world? I'd say a lot of people doubted Russell Wilson. The Seattle, Dallas, New England, they got lucky with those picks. Sometimes you draft a quarterback that's just too good to pass up on. Sometimes there's a player that drops to you and you say, man, we have some needs, but we can't pass on this quarterback. Similar to how the Green Bay Packers did in 2005 when they drafted Aaron Rodgers. They said, Aaron Rodgers, even though we have Brett Favre, he's too good to pass up on. And Green Bay ends up being the biggest winner of that draft. That was a home run. And sometimes you bank on the potential of a player. You know, Patrick Mahomes. A lot of people had questions about Patrick Mahomes coming out of Texas Tech. They say he's a Big 12 quarterback, can't read a defense, makes questionable decisions. Andy Reid took a flyer on Patrick Mahomes, developed him properly. He becomes arguably the best player in all football as we speak today. And sometimes people, when the pick is obvious, you don't need to overthink it. You know, Peyton Manning, he was an obvious pick. Cam Newton, obvious pick a couple of years ago. Deshaun Watson should have obviously been the number one overall pick. I understand Patrick Mahomes has developed in what he developed into, but Deshaun Watson was the better player in college, okay? And even Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck was a no-brainer. Baker Mayfield, to me, in that draft, it was a no-brainer. I know that Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson developed into being these phenomenal players, but Cleveland today is not regretting drafting Baker Mayfield, okay? Trevor Lawrence, to me, falls in the category of an obvious draft pick. I mean, you see the arm talent. He won a lot of big games. He's mature beyond his years. He reads defenses very well, has NFL habits. He's a very underrated athlete. He checks all the boxes, okay? And listen, if Trevor Lawrence ends up becoming a bust, then hey, at least you went down swinging by trying to hit a good pitch, okay? You selected a good pitch to hit, you just missed. You know, Trevor Lawrence, he should work. If he doesn't work, then that just goes to show you that there's no can't miss prospect out there. There's no such thing as that, okay, if Trevor Lawrence misses, okay, because he has all the talent in the world. And Dabo Swinney said, you know, Dabo Swinney, his college coach at Clemson, he said Trevor Lawrence is the best high school quarterback that he's ever evaluated. And by the way, Dabo Swinney warned y'all about Deshaun Watson. He said Deshaun Watson has Michael Jordan qualities when he was coming out of Clemson. And some people didn't listen to Dabo Swinney. A lot of those teams regret it. Okay, so look. I like what Trevor Lawrence brings to the table. I believe he was worthy of the number one overall pick. Will he live up to the insane amount of hype he's, received? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. All I know is based on what Trevor Lawrence displayed in college compared to his contemporaries, he has the best chance to become a franchise quarterback. Will he become as good as Trey Lance or Justin Fields one day? Maybe, maybe not. But he just doesn't have a whole lot of bust potential. And that's where you look at Trevor Lawrence and you say, okay, this guy, not a whole lot of question marks. Let's just pick him, And, hey, if Justin Fields ends up becoming better, or Trey Lance, or Mac Jones, or Zach Wilson, so what? We can live with that because we got our guy, okay? The Indianapolis Colts were very satisfied with Andrew Luck in their draft class. Russell Wilson is still the best quarterback from that draft class, but, Indianapolis, you didn't want to take that risk, So that's how I feel about Trevor Lawrence. I believe he's walking into a better situation than people are willing to admit. I believe in Urban Meyer. I do think Jacksonville has some talent. The biggest question about Trevor Lawrence is how hungry is the guy? Because he doesn't have to deal with a whole lot of, adversity based on his contemporaries. Zach Wilson was passed up by big-time schools. Mac Jones had to fight for his starting job at Alabama. Trey Lance was doubted during the pre-draft process. For some reason, people think Justin Fields, for whatever reason, is the fifth best quarterback in this draft class all of a sudden. The Chris Sims of the world, things like that. They're saying Justin Fields isn't that good. I disagree. Now Justin Fields has motivation. Everyone's hyping up Trevor Lawrence. They're saying he's great. But can Trevor Lawrence deliver? We shall see. I'm excited to find out. And I do endorse this pick. However, we'll see what happens in the future. I believe Trevor Lawrence can be a successful quarterback. No doubt about it. So, and I want to talk about the Jaguars once again because all reports point to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're expected to sign Tim Tebow, okay, the former quarterback out of Florida that was picked with the 25th overall pick back in 2010 in the first round. And in 2011, Tim Tebow really kind of broke onto the scene as a quarterback with the Denver Broncos. He threw 12 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, led the Broncos to a 7-4 record. He also defeated Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers in the playoffs. He won a playoff game. And that year, Tim Tebow also had 660 yards rushing on the ground for 6 rushing touchdowns as well. And his time was short-lived in the NFL, He did go to the New York Jets, in his final season, But the reality is, Tim Tebow, the reason why he did not last is because he only completed 47.9% of his passes for his career. That's abysmal. You can't be a franchise quarterback if you're barely completing 50% of your passes. That's just not going to work. You can win games for a stretch, like the Saints. They're winning games with Taysom Hill right now. Taysom Hill's not a franchise quarterback. And you got some of the Taysom Hill vibes with Tim Tebow. Just wasn't accurate enough of a passer to be a long-term franchise quarterback. So obviously after his NFL career didn't work out the first time, he attempted to play Major League Baseball. That didn't quite work out. Now, Tim Tebow is going to be reportedly trying to play tight end for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He used to be a quarterback for the Denver Broncos. He's never really played tight end in the NFL. So that's going to be an interesting transition for Tim Tebow, no doubt about it. Tim Tebow has not played a single snap in the NFL over the last 8 years. He's going to be reintroduced to the game after not playing the game for a long time. So look, I have no idea how this is going to work out. Will he make the team? Probably, because Urban Meyer's on his side. And look, Urban Meyer obviously has something up his sleeve. Urban Meyer is bringing Tim Tebow onto his roster because, for one, he has a great relationship with Tim Tebow dating back to college. Urban Meyer and Tim Tebow won a national title together at Florida. They won a lot of games. And Urban Meyer feels that Tim Tebow can bring something to the Jaguars roster that it doesn't have right now. So I understand why Urban Meyer is making this bold move. Now, everyone's blood is boiling about Tim Tebow. They're saying, he's a bust. How's Tim Tebow getting all these chances? This isn't fair. This isn't fair. And you know what? I'm going to say to the people that think those things, this right here. If you had the clout or you had the connections that Tim Tebow had, you'd be doing the same thing he's doing right now. And deep down, you know it, and I know it too. Don't be mad at Tim Tebow for using his status to his advantage. If you have connections and you have star power, use it, okay? Tim Tebow has a chance to live his dream once again of playing in the NFL. If you had that opportunity, you take it, no doubt about it, and you wouldn't feel sorry about it either, okay? Take advantage of your opportunities. One thing I know about Tim Tebow that I can learn is if you have an opportunity in life, go for it. Don't worry about what other people think. Just go for it. Don't worry about what the outsiders think. Live your life. And people out there are saying, Tim Tebow, he should get a real job. He needs a real job. No, he doesn't. He doesn't need to listen to what you think. Tim Tebow needs to do what Tim Tebow thinks is going to make him happy. And playing in the NFL is going to probably make him happy. So let Tim Tebow live his life. Don't be the bitter person on Twitter. How about you get your life together? How about you find a way to, please your wife and things like that? Don't worry about what Tim Tebow's doing. Don't hate the player. Hate the game, Tim Tebow was a star in college. Okay, he was a first-round pick in the NFL. Okay? He gets passes that other people don't get because, quite frankly, he did good things a long time ago in college. He was a star. So don't hate the player. Hate the game. And deep down, for a fact, if you had the opportunity to do what Tim Tebow's doing right now, you do it in a heartbeat, and you cannot dispute that, whether you want to admit it or not deep down. Now, I want to talk about Kyle Pitts, the tight end out of Florida. The Atlanta Falcons selected Kyle Pitts with the number 4 overall pick in the NFL draft, and a lot of people felt that Kyle Pitts was arguably the best player in the draft. There was a good amount of people that felt that way. At least they felt he was an elite prospect. And look, if I were the Atlanta Falcons, I would have taken Justin Fields with him being on the board. Obviously, Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence and Trey Lance were off the board. I would have taken Justin Fields because I believe Justin Fields is a generational talent. You get him on the rookie contract, which is a huge advantage from a financial standpoint. And look, I truly believe Matt Ryan has reached his ceiling with Atlanta. He's underperformed. He's underachieved. It's time to move on, in my opinion. But the Falcons decided to stick with Matt Ryan for another year. Ultimately, I believe they're going to regret that. But, let's talk about Kyle Pitts. Because here's the thing. If you're going to stick with Matt Ryan for another year, why not surround him with the best supporting cast possible? And look, the Atlanta Falcons offense has a chance to be really good with Kyle Pitts as their tight end. We'll see if they made the right pick. We'll know the answer to that question in the next 3 to 5 years when we get more information. But the question is, can Kyle Pitts make the Atlanta Falcons offense elite once again? Is Kyle Pitts the next great tight end? And yes, Kyle Pitts has a chance to make the Atlanta Falcons offense elite once again. However, I will say the best tight ends aren't always the most hyped up guys. Like I said in the past, Shannon Sharp was a 7th round pick. Rob Gronkowski, not a 1st round pick. Travis Kelce, not a 1st round pick. George Kittle, not a 1st round pick. Mark Andrews, not a 1st round pick. In fact, the most hyped up tight ends over the past couple of years, Vernon Davis, never had a 1,000-yard season in his career. Constantly dealt with injuries. O.J. Howard, he's the 3rd best tight end on his own roster right now in Tampa Bay. T.J. Hawkins is good, but he's not the next Rob Gronkowski like many scouts thought he was going to be. Look, here's the thing. Kyle Pitts has unbelievable physical traits. He's 6'6", 245 pounds, runs the 40-yard dash in 4.4 seconds. The traits are definitely there for him to become great, okay? And if you pair Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley and Russell Gage and Hayden Hurst with a guy like Kyle Pitts on this offense, you would think this is going to work. And not to mention Matt Ryan, he's no longer an MVP candidate year in and year out like he was, when he won the MVP a couple of years ago and went to the Super Bowl, but he's still a good quarterback. And Arthur Smith, I actually believe in the guy. I believe in what Arthur Smith brings to the table. So this should work. However, just know history is not on Kyle Pitts' side based on hyped up tight ends. Mike Dickett was hyped up coming out of college, and he ended up being a Hall of Famer. So he lived up to the hype. Tony Gonzalez lived up to the hype. Antonio Gates did live up to the hype, even though he didn't get as much hype as Kyle Pitts. The point I'm trying to make is this could work. However, all I'm going to say is, if Justin Fields is out there tearing things up, I don't care how great Kyle Pitts is. The Atlanta Falcons made the wrong pick because quarterbacks make the world go around. Not tight ends, not pass catchers. It's quarterback. So we'll see what Kyle Pitts brings to the table. I'm excited to see what happens. I do believe the Atlanta Falcons offense has a chance to be elite with Kyle Pitts, as their tight end, the next piece to the puzzle, Julio Jones is arguably the best wide receiver in all football when healthy. Calvin Ridley is really good. They have good weapons in Atlanta. Now, Atlanta needs to continue to add to the defense. We'll see what Arthur Smith brings to the table, but I do like the pick. However, long term, we could look back at this pick and say it's a disappointment, but I'm excited to see what happens. We'll see. Kyle Pitts has all the elite traits you look for. So the Philadelphia Eagles drafted Devonta Smith with the 10th overall pick in the 1st round of the NFL draft. And the Philadelphia Eagles are a rebuilding team with a young quarterback in Jalen Hurts that clearly needs help. Nick Sirianni, I have questions about him. I'm not the biggest Nick Sirianni fan, but I do think he has some potential, and I'm willing to give him a chance. I'm not going to pass judgment on the guy. I'm just in wait-and-see mode, And the Philadelphia Eagles, they desperately need a wide receiver heading into this draft. And Devonta Smith, I said heading into the draft, is a guy you don't pass on. And surely enough, the Philadelphia Eagles must have got my message because they traded up to go get Devonta Smith. And do guys like Jamar Chase and Jalen Waddle have better physical tools than Devonta Smith? Do they have more God-given ability? Absolutely. But Devonta Smith has more God-given ability than people are willing to realize, for one. And also, he has a great feel for playing the wide receiver position. He knows how to get open. He's a great route runner. He's technically sound. He's very tough. And he was arguably one of, if not the best player in all college football this past year when he won the Heisman Trophy. Okay, so I'm a big-time believer in Devonta Smith. Devonta Smith embodies what the city of Philadelphia looks for in players. Tough, hard-nosed players that will work hard, that are physical, that are gonna bleed their heart and soul into the city of Philadelphia. Devonta Smith has an incredible work ethic. I believe he's going to work in Philadelphia. I think he has a chance to be a special wide receiver in Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts will love throwing to him, or whoever the next franchise quarterback is for Philadelphia. I love Devonta Smith. This was a home run for the Philadelphia Eagles, in my opinion. At least it has a chance to be. Does he have some bust potential? Is he a little bit undersized? Yes, but I don't worry about those things. I'm going to go on a limb, and I'm going to say Devonta Smith will live up to the hype for the Philadelphia Eagles. It was a great pick for them. So I now want to talk about another wide receiver from this past draft. A wide receiver that the Cincinnati Bengals selected. His name is Ja'Marr Chase. Like I said, Ja'Marr Chase, 5th overall pick in the first round of the 2021 NFL Draft out of LSU. I actually endorsed this pick. A lot of people felt that Penei Sewell is the guy the Cincinnati Bengals should have drafted. And look, Penei Sewell is an excellent player, a really, really good offensive lineman. But the more and more I thought about it, I just thought that Ja'Marr Chase makes way too much sense for the Cincinnati Bengals. Going back and watching what Ja'Marr Chase and Joe Burrow did in college together. Remember, Joe Burrow is the current quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals, and he won the Heisman Trophy in his final season at LSU after transferring there from Ohio State. And Joe Burrow became the number 1 overall pick in college, and he and Ja'Marr Chase had a special connection. And anytime you can bring that to the NFL, I think you should do it. I think Ja'Marr Chase has a chance to be the elite weapon that puts Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals offense over the top. What makes Ja'Marr Chase so good is he's a very well-rounded wide receiver. He can line up in the slot and create mismatches. He's shown the ability to win on the outside. I would like to see him get better as a route runner, but he's a very solid route runner. He can still get better and better at those things. So that's really good that he still has untapped potential. He has really good hands. He's shown the ability to win 50-50 balls and catch the ball in traffic. And he can also run by you. He has that 4.3 speed. And in the open field, Ja'Marr Chase is physical, he's tough, and he makes plays. And now Joe Burrow hopefully has his number 1 wide receiver going for the future. You already had Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins and guys like Auden Tate who are really good, but Ja'Marr Chase, with his physical tools, he's the most talented wide receiver on that roster, in my opinion. And look, we've seen quarterbacks really take off to new heights when they receive a number 1 wide receiver. We saw Josh Allen take an unbelievable leap when the Buffalo Bills traded for Stephon Diggs. We saw Kyler Murray take another step in year number 2 with DeAndre Hopkins being his number 1 wide receiver. You mean to tell me Patrick Mahomes is the Patrick Mahomes he is if he doesn't have the fastest player in all of football named Tyreek Hill to throw to? Aaron Rodgers won the NFL MVP this past year, but a big reason why was because he has Devonta Adams to throw to. You need weapons, people. And I think that Cincinnati's wide receiver core is solidified for the future. Ja'Marr Chase and Joe Burrow has a chance to be a special connection together, and I'm excited to see what Joe Burrow does going forward for the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm a big believer in Joe Burrow, and Ja'Marr Chase could be a guy that really helps take Joe Burrow to the next level. Not that Joe Burrow necessarily needs an elite wide receiver core, because I do believe he has the ability to carry a team. I saw some good things from him his rookie year, but if you can put good players around Joe Burrow, why not do it? Ja'Marr Chase is a step in the right direction, no doubt about it. So I now want to shift back to this Aaron Rodgers drama and saga, whatever you want to call it. Look, there are rumors out there that Aaron Rodgers is not happy with the current Green Bay Packers front office. And there's also been some rumblings out there that Aaron Rodgers personally wants the current Green Bay Packers general manager, Brian Gutekunst, fired. And look, I don't know if that's true deep down, if that's the case regarding Aaron Rodgers in the front office. Look, I don't know what to believe or what not to believe just because Adam Schefter came out and pretty much said, I dropped this whole Aaron Rodgers bombshell with no true sources. He said that on the Dan Patrick show. So look, I don't know what to believe. I don't know what's real, what's not real. Personally, if I were to take a side, I'd say Aaron Rodgers actually is not that big of a diva to where he's going to want the general manager to be fired, where he's not going to return to Green Bay. I think this whole Aaron Rodgers situation can be salvaged. However, I will say this. Whether it's true or not, if Aaron Rodgers wants Brian Gutekunst fired, firing Brian Gutekunst is the best move for the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers going forward if Green Bay wants to compete for Super Bowls and actually win them. That might be a controversial opinion, but it's the God-honest truth, people. Brian Gutekunst needs to go. And if the Green Bay Packers have a choice between Aaron Rodgers and Brian Gutekunst, the current Packers general manager, they must choose Aaron Rodgers. And if they don't, they will regret it for a long, long time. Okay? Now, are they going to fire him? Fire Brian Gutekunst? No, they're not going to do it. Okay? Because that's just not something Green Bay is going to do. But listen, if Aaron Rodgers is happy, it's better for the Green Bay Packers. Because, see, if you can keep one of the 5 best quarterbacks in all of football on your roster, you do whatever you need to do to make that happen, okay? And here's the thing about Brian Gutekunst, okay? Brian Gutekunst is not a great general manager. He's an average NFL general manager at best to me. Based on what I've seen, the Green Bay Packers, they've had some problems navigating the salary cap since Brian Gutekunst has taken over as NFL general manager. And it seems like every year it's like, oh, Green Bay, their salary cap is handicapping them. And that's that's Brian Gutekunst in the front office being irresponsible, because the New Orleans Saints don't have an issue with this. The New York Giants don't have an issue with this. The Los Angeles Rams didn't have an issue with this when they paid Jared Goff a ton of money. So for the people out there saying, oh, Aaron Rodgers is taking up all the salary cap. Well, Jared Goff took up a bunch of the salary cap with the LA Rams. They still found a way to make a ton of moves to improve their team. The Pittsburgh Steelers don't have this issue. The Seattle Seahawks, another team that paid their quarterback, they don't have issues making moves for Russell Wilson. This team has no clear direction under Brian Gutekunst. Ever since 2018, Brian Gutekunst to me has been underwhelming as an NFL general manager. 2018, he goes all out and spends all his money in free agency. And then the very next year, after the Packers showed they can become a Super Bowl caliber team one day by going to the NFC Championship game, he just nails in the coffin and says, hey, we're going to draft a quarterback. We're going to prepare for the future. And I'm just sitting there like, what are you doing? Why? Go all in. Help Aaron Rodgers and this roster, because the harsh reality is Green Bay prepared for the future, and it came back to bite them in the playoffs because they made no improvements to their team. And fast forward to this year, you have this whole Aaron Rodgers saga going on, and now, guess what? The best free agent signing the Packers made this year was signing Blake Bortles, a backup quarterback. That's the only free agent signing they made this year when the team clearly has holes. They're not better than Tampa Bay. They're not more talented than the Rams. They're not more talented than the 49ers. They need to improve this roster, and Brian Gutekunst hasn't done it. And he has not brought in enough good players. Listen, Jair Alexander, Elton Jenkins, and Darnell Savage are really good players. But he's had 3 drafts if we're not counting this past draft. I'm not going to count this past draft in 2021 because we don't know what Eric Stokes is going to be. We don't know what Josh Myers is going to be. We don't know what this draft class is going to bring to the table. So the only thing I can evaluate is the draft that Brian Gutekunst has put to the table. And in 3 drafts, he's drafted 3 great players. Outside of that, it's been a bunch of busts and a bunch of average marginal players. Rashawn Gary has not been worth a first-round pick. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, you can find someone on the free agency block to do what he does, run deep, catch a couple of touchdown passes, but also drop key passes as well. Okay? So, the point I'm trying to make is Brian Gutekunst is not a good enough general manager. And the Green Bay Packers front office, they're not doing enough to get the most out of Aaron Rodgers. Green Bay's organization is good with being good enough. And Brian Gutekunst is the problem in Green Bay right now. And if the Green Bay Packers truly care about Aaron Rodgers and this roster and winning a Super Bowl going forward, they will make changes to the front office. They will fire Brian Gutekunst, and they will choose him over Aaron Rodgers. They're probably not going to do that because Green Bay's organization is clueless, and they don't know what to do as far as, treating a franchise quarterback the right way. But, hey, that's just my 2 cents, and you can agree to disagree, but it's the harsh reality, and even diehard Packers fans know this is true. So, all this Aaron Rodgers crap is coming out. People are saying he wants out of Green Bay. He's unhappy with the general manager. And all this news randomly dropped on draft night, the night of the 2021 NFL Draft. Adam Schefter of ESPN, who, by the way, does a great job for ESPN. I'm not trying to bash Adam Schefter right here because he's very good at his job. He's a very good, sourceful reporter. He does a good job, okay? But he broke the Aaron Rodgers news about Aaron Rodgers potentially wanting out of Green Bay. But I have to call out Adam Schefter and the media right here because when Adam Schefter came on the Dan Patrick Show and shared his thoughts on breaking the Aaron Rodgers story, he admitted to the fact that he had no sources in the Aaron Rodgers story and that he went based off his gut feeling. And look, if you're a reporter out there in the sports media world, you shouldn't be making reports on things based off your gut feeling. You need actual real sources. Have you guys that are in high school or in college, you know for a fact that your teacher isn't going to allow you to write a paper based on your gut feeling. Okay? She's going to tell you, you need a works cited page. You need to cite this book. You must cite this website. You must show me where you got your information from. You can't just make up a bunch of crap or a bunch of BS. But that's what Adam Schefter did. And I hope this was not a money grab for ESPN, because how ironic is it that on the one day where ESPN gets all the coverage for draft night, they drop this Aaron Rodgers bombshell. A night where everyone's tuned into ESPN. So look, I'm not going to bash the company too much because I do love ESPN, but I don't know. It's a little suspect. Might be a little bit of a money grab on the part of Schefter. I'm not trying to accuse him, but let me just call him out because, look, you can't just go out there saying a bunch of things that you have no sources to. Now, maybe this is true, but we don't know that for sure because you don't have credible sources. And the person that suffers the most from this is Aaron Rodgers because there are so many people out there, and it drives me nuts, that say Aaron Rodgers is a bad leader. And even though guys like A.J. Hawk, Charles Woodson, Clay Matthews, John Kuhn, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Devonta Adams, Aaron Jones, I could go on, have constantly said Aaron Rodgers is a great leader. They've disproved what the national media thinks. They think, Aaron Rodgers is a diva. A lot of players disagree with that. And people can say, well, there were teammates like Jermichael Finley that called out Aaron Rodgers. That was almost over a decade ago. Are we still really holding on to things that happened 10 years ago, people? 10 years ago, Katy Perry was a hot artist that every girl was dressing up to be like. Right now, no one cares about Katy Perry. I'm sorry, people. Okay? So, and look, there was also a report 2 years ago that when Matt LaFleur was hired, that Aaron Rodgers didn't get along with him, wasn't able to audible in and out of plays. And when that story was broken and Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur addressed it to the media, you know what they did? They laughed because the media constantly continues to get things wrong with Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Whoever's leaking this information in Green Bay is either doing a poor job or there are a bunch of people out there that are lying. Okay? I don't know who to believe or what not to believe because constantly the media continues to get things wrong with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. And now one of the more credible sources, out there in Adam Schefter is not putting out credible information. And I really hate this for Aaron Rodgers because there's a lot of people out there that are saying Aaron Rodgers is a diva, he's a bad leader, he's a bad teammate, how dare he call out these people? When in reality, Aaron Rodgers might not have done any of these things. So I really feel bad for Aaron Rodgers, and I understand why he is so reserved to talk to the media at times because, well, the media can do things like this, put out false information, and as a result, you suffer. So I feel bad for Aaron Rodgers and the Packers because the media continues to wrongfully paint the wrong images with Aaron Rodgers. I believe Aaron Rodgers is a very good leader that's underrated as a leader. I believe he has good leadership qualities. And I don't think Aaron Rodgers is a diva. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is wrong for wanting out of Green Bay. That's my opinion, and I'll let it be, at that. I'll let those thoughts stand right there. This whole thing about Aaron Rodgers being frustrated with the Packers, I've said in the past, I'm on Aaron Rodgers' side. I'd love to see Aaron Rodgers go to a team like the Denver Broncos or the New York Giants or Washington and really stick it to Green Bay and say, hey, you messed up. I win the Super Bowl here. Kind of like Tom Brady did with New England. Tom Brady stuck it to New England this past year by winning the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a Super Bowl. I believe Aaron Rodgers can do something very similar. And look, I was very critical of what the Green Bay Packers did in the 2020 NFL Draft when they decided to trade up and draft Jordan Love when the team clearly should be in win-now mode, when the team clearly had holes, when the team clearly was trending in the right direction, but yet the team did not support Aaron Rodgers. I still, to this day, am crucifying that pick, and ultimately, Jordan Love has to become a great player to justify this. He has to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and he more than likely has to win the Packers a Super Bowl to justify that pick. You may disagree. My standards are high, and your standards should be high too, especially if you're a Packers fan. But here's the thing. I could talk about how the Packers should have given Aaron Rodgers, more support so he could have gone out there last year to help beat Tom Brady, help beat Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, help beat the Saints, the 49ers, because there's a lot of good teams in the NFC. And if you don't continue to improve your team, eventually teams are going to catch up to you. But I will say, I've been very, very critical of Brian Gutekunst and the Packers' ability to draft players. But this year, Aaron Rodgers should feel very good about the Green Bay Packers draft, okay? And I think the Green Bay Packers having a successful NFL draft, in my opinion, increases the likability that Aaron Rodgers stays in town, okay? I think Green Bay had a really good draft, and I said pay attention to what Green Bay does in the draft because it will tell you what they think about Aaron Rodgers and his future. If Green Bay goes out there and addresses the quarterback position, addresses the wide receiver position, addresses positions of need, that tells me they're all in this year regarding Aaron Rodgers. They're trying to improve their team. However, last year they drafted a quarterback, a running back, a blocking tight end, and 3 offensive linemen. They didn't need any of those things. Okay, they already had a good running back. They had a great quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. They had a good offensive line. Okay, so they didn't need those things last year. But this year, Green Bay goes out there and drafts a cornerback, a center, a wide receiver, a defensive tackle, positions of need, okay? I thought Green Bay nailed their first 3 picks. Eric Stokes out of Georgia, I think he's going to be a playmaking defensive back for that team. And they desperately needed help at defensive back. Josh Myers comes from the same school that Corey Linsley came from. He can fill the role for center, okay? And Amari Rodgers, he's the perfect wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers in this Green Bay Packers offense. Not to mention, Green Bay also drafted Daryl Shelton, a really underrated defensive tackle out of Florida, who's a monster. Green Bay filled their needs in this draft. And I am confident that if Aaron Rodgers returns to Green Bay this year and these draft picks pan out, Green Bay can compete and potentially win a Super Bowl. So wherever you stand on this Aaron Rodgers saga, all I know is this. Green Bay had a very successful draft. I know a lot of people wanted guys like Terrence Marshall in the first round of the draft. Listen, Aaron Rodgers and this Packers team, they didn't necessarily need a wide receiver. They just needed another complimentary guy because Aaron Rodgers, he just wanted an MVP thrown into those wide receivers last year. You still got Devonta Adams. You got reliable weapons. What Green Bay needs is to improve their defense. And I believe they improved their defense and they added a complementary weapon. So I like the way Green Bay went about this draft. I was a fan of it. And I think Aaron Rodgers should be a fan of Green Bay's draft as well. So with the 15th overall pick in the first round of the 2021 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots selected Mac Jones out of Alabama. And Mac Jones had an unbelievable final year at Alabama where he completed 77% of his throws, had 41 touchdown passes to 4 interceptions in 13 games as a starter. Now, I will say, Mac Jones only really popped for 1 year in college. He's got 17 career starts in college under his belt. That does concern me a little bit. But I think that Mac Jones is walking into a really good situation. I actually think Mac Jones is more underrated as opposed to overrated as an NFL prospect. I believe Mac Jones can become a franchise quarterback. And Mac Jones is walking into a really good situation with the Patriots. The Patriots are going to put Mac Jones in a good position to succeed. You want to know why? The reason why is because Bill Belichick is still arguably the best coach in all football. So Mac Jones, he lands with a great coaching staff. You know, a good offensive coordinator in Josh McDaniels that will run similar things that Steve Sarkisian ran at Alabama for Mac Jones. Cam Newton is a professional quarterback, a starting quarterback in the NFL. Mac Jones can learn from him for a year. The Patriots have a solid offensive line. They improved their wide receiver and tight end core. They have a solid running game and a solid defense. And look, I don't quite know what Mac Jones' ceiling is. Some people think that his ceiling is Matt Ryan. Some people think that his ceiling is Kirk Cousins. Listen, I don't quite know what his ceiling is. I'm not really good with pro comparisons. I personally hate pro comparisons just because I think every quarterback is their own guy in a sense. But Mac Jones, to me, will become a capable franchise quarterback if he does the things that he did at Alabama and brings that to the NFL, and if New England continues to put good players around him. Mac Jones was an accurate passer in college. He made great decisions, and I believe his arm is stronger and more powerful than people realize. He isn't all that mobile. You're not going to get a whole lot of off-schedule plays from Mac Jones, but he's mobile enough. He can get himself out of trouble, and I think Mac Jones has the tools needed to become a franchise quarterback. Will he be a great franchise quarterback? Will he become an average franchise quarterback? I don't know. But all I know is Mac Jones is being put in a great position to succeed with the New England Patriots. And quite frankly, if he doesn't succeed, ultimately, more than likely, it will probably because he just wasn't good enough as an NFL quarterback. But I do believe what Mac Jones brings to the table. We'll see if he can become the next great Patriots franchise quarterback. So I want to talk about the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions drafted Penei Sewell with the 7th overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. And look, many people believe Penei Sewell is the best offensive lineman to come out of college since Quentin Nelson, who right now might be the best offensive lineman in the entire NFL. He's a special player for the Indianapolis Colts. And a lot of people felt that Penei Sewell had a case for being the best player overall in the draft. I mean, when you watch the tape of Penei Sewell, he's incredibly powerful. He rarely gets beat. He's very technically sound. He has all the tools to translate to the NFL and become a great offensive lineman from day number one. He just mauls people. The one knock I had against him was he didn't face a whole lot of elite pass rushers because the Pac-12 isn't known for having a lot of great defenders. But you can see talent pop off of a screen, whether a player is playing in a bad conference, a great conference, it doesn't matter. If you can evaluate talent, you can evaluate talent. Now, when it came to Detroit in the first round with that 7th overall pick, they could have gone in a multitude of directions. They could have maybe drafted Justin Fields or Mac Jones. They could have drafted a wide receiver. They could have drafted a corner. But the Detroit Lions decided to go the boring route and take the not-so-flashy guy. They picked an offensive lineman. And sometimes, people, the boring pick ends up being the right pick. Penei Sewell isn't going to stuff the stat sheet like a Jamar Chase, even though you couldn't have drafted him, but like a Devonta Smith. He's not going to be as flashy as these other players. But I will say, for my money, I'm going to bank on Penei Sewell making a huge impact for the Detroit Lions offensive line. Okay? And here's the thing. Here's a theory that I believe in and I endorse heavily. You cannot win a Super Bowl with a bad offensive line. I want you people out there to find me the last bad offensive line that won a Super Bowl. Or at least a team that had a bad offensive line that won a Super Bowl. You can't find it. You can say Seattle, but Seattle had Max Unger back when they won a Super Bowl. I think Seattle actually regrets the Jimmy Graham trade where they traded away their best offensive lineman for Jimmy Graham, who ended up disappointing in Seattle. Okay? You have to be able to win up front. If you can win up front, you can compete in the NFL. And most of the time, you're not even a good playoff team if you have a bad offensive line. There are certain boxes you have to check. You need to have a great coaching staff to win a Super Bowl. You need to have solid quarterback play. And you need to have at least an average to an above average offensive line. And Penei Sewell, he's going to be a great foundation piece for a rebuilding Detroit Lions franchise that actually has drafted pretty well. I think is doing some good things. I do think Dan Campbell at least has potential. I'm not going to say he's going to be the next great head coach. I'm not going to say that he's going to be this next great guy or anything like that, but I'm going to give him a chance. We're going to see what he brings to the table. Maybe Jared Goff is the guy. Maybe it's Spencer Rattler or Keaton Slovis next year. We'll see, but I really like the fact that Detroit cares about the line of scrimmage. And if you look at Detroit's offensive line, they have one of the best offensive lines in all of football right now. They have a really good center. Now you have Penei Sewell. This offensive line is really, really good. So if you're the Detroit Lions, if you're a Detroit Lions fan, and you're not a huge fan of this pick because it's not the most flashy pick, just pump the brakes. Don't worry. It's going to be a good pick, in my opinion. And listen, if you whiff, hey, at least you went down swinging. At least you picked a good pitch to hit. I believe it's going to work, and I believe he's going to be a cornerstone for the Detroit Lions for a long time. Another team that really had a slam dunk draft, at least based on their first two picks, was the Los Angeles Chargers. Okay? I really like what the Los Angeles Chargers did in the 2021 NFL Draft. I believe they nailed their first two draft picks. That's what I'm going to focus on right here. Because after the first 3 to 4 rounds, it's a crapshoot. You're just throwing darts at the wall, hoping these guys hit. And sometimes you get a Tom Brady, you get a guy, like a Terry McLaurin, things like that, or an Antonio Brown. Don't get me wrong, those late round draft picks matter, but there's also something to be said for acquiring elite level players and really talented players in the first and second round, because that's where the most talent is, okay? And I believe Rashawn Slater and Asante Samuel Jr. fill two huge needs for the Chargers, and I believe these are two players that are going to make a serious impact for the Chargers. Rashawn Slater is a big, powerful, very versatile offensive lineman, and the Chargers desperately needed offensive line help. And they went head on and addressed it with a 13th overall pick. They addressed it, and they got Rashawn Slater. He's going to help improve the offensive line. And Justin Herbert, for once, he maybe is not going to be running around for his life, okay? Because last year, even though Justin Herbert had an all-time great rookie season, it wasn't a healthy way he was achieving success. He was constantly running around, constantly getting hit. You don't want Justin Herbert, your franchise quarterback, under as much duress as he was under last year. So, improve the offensive line. The Chargers did that. Hopefully it gets better going forward. Now, Asante Samuel Jr. is a playmaking cornerback out of Florida State that I really like a lot, okay? He's a ball-hawking corner that can play in the slot, that can play on the outside as well. He just makes plays. He's not the biggest guy, but like I said, he has tremendous instincts, and he just makes plays. He's a tremendous athlete. And in a division with Patrick Mahomes, you need great defensive backs. And I'm sorry, but Chris Harris Jr. as your number one cornerback, I don't like it. I think Chris Harris Jr. has a chance to get some Hall of Fame votes when it's all said and done, but he's getting up there in age. You can't roll him out there and expect him to be your best quarterback because he's going to disappoint you. So I really think that the Chargers got an absolute steal in Asante Samuel. And you look at the Chargers, they have a pretty good offense, a really good quarterback in Justin Herbert, a head coach that I believe in now in Brandon Staley. I think that he's going to be a huge upgrade over Anthony Lynn. And now you improve the line of scrimmage and your defensive back group. I think the Chargers are really starting to build something. They have a really talented team that has some promise. I think Asante Samuel and Rashawn Slater are two slam dunk picks for the Chargers. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers actually drafted a quarterback in the 2021 NFL Draft. With the 64th overall pick in the second round, the Buccaneers drafted Kyle Trask, quarterback out of Florida. And I was not shocked that Tampa Bay decided to draft a quarterback. Tom Brady is going to be 44 years old by the time the season rolls around in 2021. And listen, Tom Brady is excellent. He's great. He's the reigning Super Bowl MVP. He's a great player. He's an all-time great player. The greatest quarterback to ever live. But eventually, he's going to get old. And Father Time's going to catch up to him. So you have to start preparing for the future. And I said this, Tampa Bay heading into the draft, they're the one team that did not have a whole lot of major holes. So they can afford to take risks and sort of prepare for the future while also rounding out the depth of their roster. Now, before the draft, I was campaigning for the Buccaneers to draft Kellen Mond because I felt Kellen Mond has a lot of potential, and I think he's a perfect fit for what Bruce Arians wants to do on offense, okay? Bruce Arians loves to throw the football down the field. He likes to take shots down the field. And I thought that if the Buccaneers obviously couldn't draft guys like Justin Fields or Trey Lance, Kellen Mond was the guy best suited to do that. Now, they decided to roll with Kyle Trask. And here's the reason why I personally believe the Buccaneers drafted Kyle Trask. And again, I'll never quite know because I don't have access to the front office. I don't have Bruce Arians' phone number. I don't talk to those guys. But my gut tells me Bruce Arians looked at Kyle Trask's tape at Florida, and he said, that guy is going to allow me to execute my offense at the highest level if this guy develops into a franchise quarterback. He believes Kyle Trask can run his offense the best if Kyle Trask pans out. And again, we can debate whether or not that's a good decision or not. That's what Bruce Arians and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coaching staff and organization truly believes, in my opinion. And also, when you look at Kyle Trask, the ceiling might not be as high as a guy like Kellen Mond, but the floor is higher. Meaning, there's a less likelihood that Kyle Trask is a whiff in the NFL because he does the little things right. He's an accurate passer. He makes good decisions. He goes through his reads and progressions pretty well. He gets the ball out of his hands very quickly. His ball placement is pretty good. He doesn't have incredible physical tools, but he does everything that he can to get the most out of his body. He's very detail-oriented, and he controls the things that he knows he can control. Okay, so what the Buccaneers are getting is an accurate pocket passer that makes good decisions, that doesn't have incredible arm strength, but he has a good enough arm to get it to the guys that he needs to get it to. He has a good enough NFL arm to be a franchise quarterback. And if a wide receiver is open, more times than not, Kyle Trask is going to hit them. And Kyle Trask had a very good senior season. He was in the conversation for the Heisman Trophy, okay? He had 43 touchdown passes to only 8 interceptions in his final year at Florida, okay? Now, he's not mobile at all, okay? You're not going to get hardly any off-schedule plays from Kyle Trask. So you need to really build that offensive line up to be really good around him. And you need great skill position players around him as well to get the most out of him. I kind of get, Andy Dalton vibes. I was going to say Dak Prescott, but I think Dak Prescott's more talented than a guy like Kyle Trask. The bottom line is Kyle Trask, he's very Kirk Cousins-like, where he's pretty much only as good as the plays being called. The deciding factor that's going to separate Kyle Trask is, does he have the it factor? Can he galvanize the troops? Does he have ice in his veins? Will he be able to show up in big games? Because that's what separates Tom Brady from guys like, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, things like that, is Tom Brady is a stone cold killer in the clutch. He just has that it factor, and he finds a way to elevate under pressure. So I don't know what Kyle Trask's ceiling is. He very well could just be a backup journeyman quarterback, or he could maybe develop into becoming a starting quarterback one day. We shall see. I am interested to see how his career pans out, but we'll see what happens, But the Buccaneers rolled with Kyle Trask, and for those reasons, I think that's the reason why they drafted him. We'll see what happens. The Minnesota Vikings took a risk in the 2021 NFL Draft by drafting Kellen Mond in the 3rd round with the 66th overall pick. And I like this pick for the Vikings because, look, I felt the Vikings heading into the draft should have been targeting quarterbacks like Trey Lance and Justin Fields. And by the way, there are reports out there that the Vikings were going to draft Justin Fields if he was available with the number 14 overall pick in the 1st round. But once Justin Fields, was snagged up by the Chicago Bears, the Minnesota Vikings realized, hey, we're not going to reach for a quarterback. We're going to trust our board. We're going to get good players. And if a guy like Kellen Mond is there later on, we'll take him. And look, it's pretty clear to me that the Minnesota Vikings have reached their ceiling with Kirk Cousins. I figured, okay, this team is not good enough to win a Super Bowl right now. You've reached your ceiling with Kirk Cousins. It's time to make a move for a quarterback. And that's exactly what the Minnesota Vikings did, okay? And it's something that they usually don't do. Usually Minnesota is known for home-growing their players, not taking big swings. But this time, I admire this swing. I really do. Kellen Mond has the potential to become the Vikings franchise quarterback of the future. He has a lot more potential than Kirk Cousins, okay? Kirk Cousins is a limited quarterback. And don't get me wrong, there are limits to every quarterback out there to a certain degree. There are quarterbacks out there that have limitations, regarding something. There's no such thing as a perfect quarterback. But Kellen Mond, because of his arm strength and because of his athletic ability, he allows you to do so many creative things on offense. I think he really opens up your playbook, okay? And there are just certain things that Kirk Cousins isn't capable of doing. It's no fault of Kirk Cousins because, he didn't choose to have an average NFL arm. He's just trying to get the most out of what God gave him, okay? But the thing about Kellen Mond is this. He has much better physical tools than Kirk Cousins, and also Kellen Mond is walking into a really good situation. He can sit and develop for a year behind Kirk Cousins if he needs to. He's going to have star wide receivers to throw to, like, Adam Thielen, like Justin Jefferson. Dalvin Cook is one of the best running backs in all of football. Minnesota has some real players on defense. I do think Mike Zimmer is an underrated head coach, and he's going to have a true shot to succeed in the NFL. This is a good situation for Kellen Mond. And if he's good enough, he will find some success because the Vikings, they have some talent on this roster, no doubt about it. And if you listen to the way Kellen Mond talks, you can tell that guy is hungry and ready to work and ready to go. So, look, I don't know if Kellen Mond is the future of the Minnesota Vikings, but I will tell you, I endorse this pick. I said when Kellen Mond was being evaluated during the pre-draft process, this guy is worth taking a risk on. He has physical tools that you look for in really good quarterbacks. And if you can untap that potential, he can become an effective franchise quarterback. So we'll see what Kellen Mond does. I'm excited to see how his career unfolds in Minnesota with the Vikings. The Denver Broncos drafted Patrick Surtain with the 9th overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. And I love this pick for the Denver Broncos. Now, it is going to be an interesting story to follow over the next 3 to 5 years because the Broncos did pass on both Justin Fields and Mac Jones. So they're going to roll with Drew Lock for another year. And I actually, in the past, have endorsed Drew Lock. I think Drew Lock has some talent. But let's be real, Drew Lock has not shown a lot of flashes in the NFL. As of right now, he ranks among one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the NFL. So you're taking a big risk not taking Justin Fields or Mac Jones. And Teddy Bridgewater, don't get me started. He's a good player, but he's not the future of the Broncos. Okay, he's just not. Now, with that being said, let's talk about Patrick Surtain. Because in the end, you do want to get your franchise quarterback right, but you also want to draft good players. And Patrick Surtain is a really good player. Okay? And Patrick Surtain, the second, has a chance to make the Denver Broncos defense elite once again. He's going to be paired up with Kyle Fuller, Ronald Darby, Bryce Callahan, and Justin Simmons in that secondary at safety. Even though Justin Simmons, like I said, is a safety. Patrick Surtain's a corner. But the point is, that secondary has a lot of great playmakers. And people are going to say, well, the Broncos already had really good quarterbacks. Why did they add another great corner? Well, because in the NFL, sometimes when you can add a strength to what's already a strength, that gives you a chance to have a special unit on your football team. Like, for example, the Washington football team last year had Montez Sweat and Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen and first-round picks on their defensive line. But that defensive line didn't get super-duper good until they added that game changer in Chase Young. In hindsight, it was the right pick. Same thing with the 49ers. They had DeForest Buckner, D Ford, all these guys on the defensive line, but Nick Bosa is the centerpiece to the puzzle that really made that 49ers defense go. CeeDee Lamb, you add him to the Dallas Cowboys wide receiver core, all of a sudden the wide receiver core is really good to now potentially elite. Antonio Brown in Tampa Bay last year. Everyone said the Buccaneers don't need Antonio Brown. Turns out he was a big contributor in the Super Bowl for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And this Broncos defense has a lot of talent. And I'm not going to go out on a limb and say this Broncos defense is going to be as talented as the no-fly zone was a couple of years ago when the Broncos won a Super Bowl in Peyton Manning's final year there as a Bronco. But this team has a lot of talent on defense. And this defense has a chance to be the most talented defense Denver's had since the no-fly zone. You still got Bradley Chubb and Von Miller to rush the passer. And you got all these guys on the back end of that secondary. Man, oh man. And like I said, you're in a division with Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and even if you think Derek Carr is really good, you're in a division with him. So, a lot of good quarterbacks in this division. You get a playmaker on defense. Patrick Surtain, he has a chance to be the piece to the puzzle that really makes this Broncos defense elite once again. I like the Broncos draft, and I like Patrick Surtain a lot, okay? The Pittsburgh Steelers selected Najee Harris with the 24th overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft in the first round. To me, it was a good pick. I understand a lot of people are hesitant to draft a running back in the first round just because we've seen guys like Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, guys like that, Aaron Jones even, that have been late-round picks that have developed into really good players. But if you look at the history of first-round running backs that are taken over the past couple of years, you get guys like Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Christian McCaffrey, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. There are good running backs that have been taken in the first round. The only thing that I would say is I'd just be hesitant to pay those guys a second contract because running back is the most replaceable position in the NFL. But let's talk about Najee Harris. Najee Harris 100% was worth a first-round pick, okay? When you turn on his film at Alabama, you see nothing but incredible runs. And the thing I admire the most about him is the way he finishes off runs. He's always falling forward, always gaining extra yards. He has great vision, great balance, really good, really sneaky good power as well. And he can also run by you. He has really good speed as well. And he was very effective in Alabama's passing game as well. He's a really complete three-down running back. And heading into the draft, the Steelers needed to upgrade their running back position. I felt they need to upgrade the offensive line and their cornerback depth chart as well. But this fills a need for Pittsburgh, and Najee Harris embodies what the Pittsburgh Steelers are. a tough, hard-nosed franchise that has had a bunch of star players come in and out of that franchise. And Najee Harris, I think he's a Pittsburgh Steeler at heart because he talked about, on ESPN when he was being interviewed on the show First Take, how something clicked with the Pittsburgh Steelers during his Zoom meetings. He just knew Pittsburgh was a special place for him. And I think Pittsburgh recognized Najee Harris was a special player, and he was too good to pass up on. So he comes from a blue-collar program at Alabama. He got great coaching at Alabama. He'll have great coaching in the NFL with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think Najee Harris has a chance to become one of the next great running backs in the NFL. I like this pick a lot for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Najee Harris is the perfect fit for the Pittsburgh Steelers, no doubt about it. I now want to talk about just a couple more draft picks right here. Then I'll end the show. I want to talk about Micah Parsons, the 12th overall pick out of Penn State, okay? And heading into the draft, it was pretty clear to me the Dallas Cowboys really wanted Patrick Surtain. And I truly believe that if the Cowboys had the ability to draft Patrick Surtain with the 10th overall pick, they would have done it. But because Patrick Surtain got picked by the Denver Broncos, one spot ahead, they decided to trade down and fill a need and then go get Micah Parsons, okay? So I think it's still a win-win situation for the Cowboys because they got a really good player, Micah Parsons, and they added some draft capital along the way by trading down. I think Dallas Cowboys fans should be happy with this pick, okay? What are they getting in Micah Parsons? Micah Parsons is a really good physical specimen as a linebacker, okay? He's a freak of nature. Unbelievable athletic traits he has. He has unbelievable speed. He has the size. He has the strength. And he has the ability to make plays in the open field that you see with the great inside linebackers in the NFL. He's also a really good pass rusher. Anytime Penn State brought him off the edge or used him in blitz packages, he was very, very effective. Micah Parsons does need to work on his coverage skills, but he's still a very young player that's learning how to play the linebacker position. So the potential's off the charts with this guy. And you can really teach him and hone in those skills if you put the right coaches around him. So I think Dallas filled a need. I think Micah Parsons is a good fit for the Dallas Cowboys. And he's not your ordinary Dallas Cowboy. This guy is a freak of nature, and he has a chance to be a really good cornerstone for the Dallas Cowboys defense. We all know Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup. These guys are going to put up points. Dallas is only going to go as far as their defense takes them going forward because they have the parts on offense to be an elite group. Now, it's all about improving the defense. I think Micah Parsons is a step in the right direction for improving this defense for the Dallas Cowboys. I like the pick and I endorse it. Last but not least, I want to talk about J.C. Horn, the quarterback out of South Carolina that was selected number 8 overall in the 2021 NFL Draft by the Carolina Panthers. J.C. Horn, to me, fills a huge need for the Carolina Panthers. Last year, the Carolina Panthers went all in on defense. They drafted Derrick Brown, who was a hit. They drafted Jeremy Chin, who was a hit. A couple of years ago, they drafted Brian Burns, an edge rusher out of Florida State that's been really good in the NFL. He's very underrated. And now they have potentially their number 1 corner for the next couple of years in J.C. Horn. J.C. Horn is very talented. He's a physical, big-body cornerback that, to me, has a chance to become a top 10 corner in the NFL. He's super-duper physical, has great instincts, underrated speed. He understands, what wide receivers are trying to do at the line of scrimmage. He's a very smart and instinctive player, and he just pretty much took over games for the South Carolina defense last year. Now, he is a physical player. He will, at times, hold on to players and mug them a little bit. But if you actually watch Jair Alexander and guys like Jalen Ramsey, those are physical cornerbacks. You have to just play to your strengths. And J.C. Horn's strength is playing very physical. So he's doing what works best for him. So I think that Carolina, with their defense, they have a lot of good young players. But this is the one player that could be an elite cornerstone to this Carolina Panthers defense. The way Matt Rule is building his defense, he's building through the line of scrimmage. Now he decided to go out there and get a number one cornerback to lock up the opposing team's number one best wide receiver. I think J.C. Horn can be that guy. He improved tremendously from last year to this year at South Carolina. He's only going to get better and better. I think he still has a lot to learn, and he has a lot of potential. I felt he was worth the top 10 pick. I felt you could make the argument he was the best corner in the draft, and the Carolina Panthers filled a huge need. J.C. Horn could be a great cornerstone for the Carolina Panthers defense for a long time. I like the pick a lot. Well, everyone, that's pretty much all I have today. Thank you so much for tuning into this jam-packed show. Have a God-blessed day. Stay safe, everyone. And I'm Ghost. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juice Alert Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big-time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juice Alert Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God-blessed day, and I'm out.